Hello, welcome back to the Inner. Today I'm joined by CrumbTV, also known as the Master Student. How you doing today?
Peace and love, Almighty. All is well. All is truly well in yourself.
I'm doing great. It's great to finally get you on here. You've been somebody that I have gotten requests to have on. Um, just because I guess you respected in the Black community and then the YouTube community. So it's glad to have you here.
I give you high honors and perfect praise. I'm truly humbled.
Awesome. If you could kind of, I guess, introduce yourself to the audience, tell them a little bit about what you do.
Peace and love to the family, those listening now and those who are going to catch this later. I'm your humble brother, Crumb, the master student. I am a teacher of not a teacher, excuse me. I'm a student, a lifelong student of the Aquarian Age, the age of information. Just here to do my part in terms of understanding, learning. Verily, I say unto thee, family, we learn together.
Okay, I like that. So, getting into, let's just say, YouTube, or more so, just that journey of being a student. How'd that start for you?
Uh, it started on Facebook. Uh, I think Facebook was the biggest leader for social media after MySpace. I was on MySpace. It was very mundane, nothing. You just I did what everybody else was doing. Got on Facebook and just kind of continued that out of the norm cycle of just posting random stuff. And Mike Brown had transitioned, and I saw that, and I had looked to my leader, who's someone who I looked up to at the time, to say something about it, and he was quiet. Uh, at the time, I wasn't, doing anything in particular. That was one of the things that kind of inspired me to move. Another one was I saw people on Facebook posting information, and I would ask them questions, and they were they refused to answer. They refused to elaborate. They refused to teach. And it brought me back to my days as a Christian in the church. I think I was like maybe 8, 9, just in an innocent age. And I would ask a question and I would be berated. I'd be attacked. I'd be demonized. They treated me as if I had some uh, agenda when I
Yeah,
was just an innocent kid looking for answers.
yeah. This
So when I
don't
got
make sense. Can y'all clear this up for me?
so I got on Facebook and received the exact same treatment. This is outside of the church, and it was deeply bothering to me, disturbing, excuse me. But someone said, "Be the change you want to see." So versus crying about it, I just did the research and the questions I had. Once I found them, I shared them with people, and it turned out a lot of people were feeling the exact same way I was, and it would just went up from there.
That's amazing. Like, yeah, that's even back when I was a Christian, I told them that. I was like, most people just have questions that they want answered. It's not even malicious. Some stuff just not making sense. And because y'all don't necessarily want to say y'all don't know, y'all give them an answer that also don't make no sense. And that drives people away even more. So I was saying that even back when I was in that system. Of course, I've since left, but that statement stands the same. And that's really the same across all cultures because I've run into that too since leaving, where there's certain communities that are a little rough when it comes to Q&A. uh, Usually that's just a sign of insecurity. They don't really believe all too much themselves. They're not too comfortable in that own pocket themselves. But speaking of just your journey in becoming a student, a teacher, in a way, who've been some of the most influential teachers for you?
My style is Ivan Van Sertima. That's my whole style. Ivan Van Sertima could not find a smoking gun, so he had to piecemeal everything together. And up until that point, that had never been respected. And up until today, I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
You all right?
Up until today, it still is stigmatized. But the way he did it was a mosaic. He took one. We want to find this proof that is irrefutable. That one thing that's the nail in the coffin. Ivan Van Sertima couldn't find that. So what he did was he took these tiny pieces, almost microscopic. Matter of fact, I forgot what Batman movie it was, but it was the one when we were kids, and it was starring. Well, the arch nemesis was Penguin, and I think it was the mayor or somebody had some papers he didn't want anybody to see, and he shredded like a million copies into a million small pieces. So whatever happens, the mayor or whoever this high-ranking official was ends up in a sewer facing off with the penguin, and the penguin says, "Hey, remember that thing you did?" And the mayor's like, "Nah, I don't know what you're talking about." And he says, "Well, this and this and that." He says, "If I would have had anything like that, I would have destroyed it to a million gazillion small pieces." Penguin said, "Yeah, you're right. You would have. What if somebody picked up those million gazillion pieces and put them all together?" And the mayor's like, "Yeah, but that's virtually impossible. Nobody goes to that length." And in the movie, that's what the
That
penguin did. This is what Ivan Van Sertima did. Nobody does that. So yeah, Ivan Van Sertima, that's my style. If I can find a smoking gun, awesome. If not, and I can piecemeal it, then I'll do that. And that's what he did. Now I don't do it to that level. But yes, piecemealing. If you don't have a smoking gun, you're going to have to connect these dots, and it's probably going to be a lot of dots that have to be connected before you're going to even be able to present a compelling argument. My next one, and this is in no specific order. Please forgive me. Umar did really inspire me. I uh, I had a change in my life when Hidden Colors came out. It was a huge motivating factor for me. So Umar definitely did it. Bobby Hemmett,
one of my favorites.
just you know, a wealth of knowledge. So these are some of my the people who paved the way for me. I stand on. Oh, I'm sorry. One more. Dr. Alim El Bey. These other people, when I speak of them, I speak of them from a very far position. Dr. Alim El Bey took me under his wing, and um, at one point I said young Pharaoh had his Sarasut and Seti. Um, Brother Polite had his Sa Netter. Who else? Um, Bobby Panic had. I'm sorry. Brother Panic had Bobby Hemmett. But I at this point felt as if I put so much work in that I deserved someone to really, you know, assist me from the point that where I couldn't bridge the gap. And Dr. Alim El Bey took me under his wing.
That's amazing. But I absolutely stand behind the message you were sharing about how, I guess you could say, beneficial teachers like that are. People who are willing to realize that none of these factions are working by theirself. It's all incomplete and someone has to complete it. That's been my message for the last maybe 5 years, is that we're looking at a big puzzle. And in as long as we don't get stuck in our corner piece and only what connects to that, and we branch out of it and we start trying to figure, okay, what's connected? Okay, this don't connect over here. Don't mean it's not a part of the puzzle. Where does it connect? Where does this make sense? It fits over here. Fine. And we start getting this thing together. That also gives us a bit of grace for each other, for us to have our own niches within the community. Because you might major in something I don't care nothing about, but that don't mean it's not valuable. So that's something that is getting, I believe that's related to the Aquarian Age. That's part of it. It's us coming into the knowledge of what we were sent here for, the puzzle piece that we are. Uh, we all have that individual contribution. So I love that. Um, you mentioned Bobby Hemmett. You mentioned a lot of greats. I'm familiar with a lot of them. Um, Not sure if this is controversial or not. Let me know if it is. What is your stance on Dr. York?
Well, unfortunately, it is controversial, but I'll tell you, yeah, I'm pro York. But let me explain why.
Hmm.
You have to understand, this is a moniker.
Yeah,
I embody this. And let me just be honest with you. I love my people. One of my before I was the master student, before this was my moniker was your favorite racist. I was your favorite racist, meaning the study of race, not anything other than that. People,
yeah,
but and I say that because I can learn from anybody. I can learn from anything. And reason I say racist because listen, I love my people, but we probably the leaders in ignorance. You want to hide something from a Negro, put it in a book. We just not readers. And the only way you're going to have respect for Dr. Malachi Yor is if you have a passion for reading, and our people just don't have that zeal. So, as the master student, I can learn from a roach. As the master student, if you shoot me, I'm gonna learn from that. And I would say that if a person gets shot and they don't learn from that, they're probably going to get shot again. Um, I don't. You don't have to have a PhD and a perfect background for me to learn from you. I can learn from the devil. I can learn from a rainy day. I can learn from the good. I can learn from the bad. And I would argue everything is good. Something bad happens to me, that's good for me because even in the Bible, because I am a Christian brother, I do subscribe to the ideology of trial by fire. We're
hmm
going to teach you, and the way we're going to teach you is we're going to whip your butt, and you're going to learn today. So yeah, Malachi Zayor. The only reason he's controversial because his personal life, family. I don't care. But this whole black people love to kill the messenger. That's why we ignorant. Our people, we're going to find a reason to stay in an ignorant state of mind. Somebody said I'm broke. I said, bro, you ain't broke. Broke is a state of mind that money can't fix. A fool and his money shall soon part ways. I'm not tripping on nobody for what they do personally. If I can learn something from them, I don't care if it's Hitler, the devil, a white person, a person with a PhD, a bum on the street, blah blah blah. I don't pick and choose my teachers. They just come as they come.
that's wonderful. Like, because that even goes into that puzzle piece aspect. Is I can't decide your value, so I have to wait for you to reveal it. And the moment we write someone or something off, we don't get to complete the puzzle. We miss out on stuff. That was part of my journey. Is I grew up where a lot of people had the same story. They had the same testimony. They had either they struggled with this addiction, they struggled with that addiction, they made these issues when they was young. They'd tell you, hey, when I was your age, this is what I was doing. Well, how many times I got to hear that story before I decide I'm not going to do none of what they just now glad that at 40, 50, 60, they just now got free from. I don't want parts in that. They just told me that they set them back 30 years. So even in that is learning from other people's mistakes so we don't repeat it. So it's like eat the fish, spit out the bones, and I'm not somebody that like fish. So eat the good stuff, get rid of the nonsense.
That is the epitome or epitome of a master student.
That's great. Like as I started studying Comedicism, Medunetter and stuff, um the term for student and master is the same word.
Siba.
Seba. So that's something that Patar Asar is heavy on is I need you and you need me. You gonna teach me some stuff while I'm trying to teach you. And while I'm teaching, you gonna learn from me, but we gonna learn from each other.
Verily, I say unto thee, brother, we truly learn together. And there's a moniker. The teacher, well, I think it's a saying. The teacher learns twice.
Yeah, yeah. So continuing in that topic because you kind of brought it up and I was going there next anyway, which is just about the black community in America specifically. what would be some of your suggest? Let's see. How do I want to frame this? Actually, I'm gonna ask you the same question twice. I'm just gonna reword it. So, what would be some of your main suggestions to the community? Let's say this platform was the biggest in the world. Every black person in America gonna see this, and you are the most credible person I could find. What is some of the best advice you would give for us to get ourselves together?
The same thing the angel Gabriel, according to Christians or in Islam, Gibra'el, Ekra is what he told Muhammad. Read. I really hate to be cliche about it, but I'm brother. If I don't care what it is. I came up on sci-fi. I came up on goofy stuff. But just read. I give you my word. It's boring in the beginning, but it gets gooder. Gooder. It gets better.
That's cool. That's cool. So, let's say you were in a position of authority in the nation. Let's say you mayor, you governor. Matter of fact, let's say Brother Crumb is now president. We got master student for president. What's some of the first laws you trying to change? What's some of the first laws you're trying to put into effect?
I don't think we need any new laws. I it was once said, I don't know if it was Plato, Socrates, or one of these uh, famous the Sophites.
Mhm.
The more laws you have, this is uh, reflecting of how of a low morale society that you come from.
Yeah,
We we don't really need any new laws. I think the laws now are pretty good. I think we probably have too many laws, to be honest with you. Um, and I don't want to go off topic, but if you look at government, I I came up on more science as well. Shout out to Kinnick L. That that's also he really raised me. And if you ask him, he's going to get mad for me saying that, but I- I'm not going to stop saying it. So they said nationality is the order of the day. This is according to more science. Shout out to high honors to Noble Ali. So of course, we're getting into reading. Reading is simply the breakdown of words, the expression of letters which represent sounds. So I asked the family, what is nationality? And I would say 99% of Moors can't answer that in a straightforward, pragmatic way. Nationality is the expression of a nation. A
mhm,
nation is broke down into states, a states into cities, municipalities, cities, towns, communities, whatever. Cities are broken down into neighborhoods. Neighborhoods are broken down into homes. Nationality or laws is just a fancy word for home training. You don't need no laws if you got a daddy in your house because your daddy laid down the law. And as long as your daddy laid down the law, you good.
I like that. Which means majority of our problem and our solution begins in the same place. We get the family back together, we get the home back together, that rebuilds the community. We start reading, which I agree on that too. Some stuff isn't hard to find. Most things aren't hard to find. Um, and as long as we're constantly growing as an individual and we having conversations like this one that kind of pull on each other a bit, we're gonna grow as a community. Like I was a bit young for this at the time, but barbershops used to kind of be that place for people to just talk on all types of stuff. Barbershops wasn't really like that as I was growing up. I had an old barber. He was 1,000 years old when I was little. He 1,002 now. Um, but that's one of those things, one of those staples of the community that a lot of people benefited from. And from what I hear, isn't like that now. Like I haven't cut my hair in years, so no reason for me to be in the barbershop. But that kind of goes into it. Us interacting with each other just to share what we got, possibly have it challenged so that we might need to go back to the drawing board on a few things. Um, as well as if we're just talking about the idea of a community. If it can self-sustain itself, it don't matter what laws they pass, nobody gonna listen to it. Because truthfully, there's not enough enforcement to make everybody follow. So it's like if we're all as a community, as a family, working together, growing together, we're gonna be all right. That's somewhat what one of my suggestions have been is buying land and helping ourselves. Growing our own food, teaching our own schools. Uh, that should be major projects for all of us all over the nation is buy land, get pocket communities, have your own stuff so the city don't need to bother you. So let's see. One of the topics that you mentioned as you were given a bit of an introduction was the Aquarian Age or the Age of Aquarius. If you could kind of give us a rundown on uh, what that is and what that entails, what's supposed to be happening during this Age of Aquarius.
Well, without making it too sci-fi, um, for us in a very real and personal way, the dawn of computers.
Mm-hmm.
We computers have changed all of our lives, bro. I hated reading until computers came out. You know, but yeah, now that we have access to computers, it has really changed our reality, and computers represent information. So we are in the age of computing. We are the and computing just means think. We are the age of information. We are in the age of thoughts. Thoughts they now travel quickly, even though they've always traveled quickly. But hey, this gone viral. That's gone viral. Information just kind of jettisons across the horizon. This is the age of information. Verily, I say unto thee.
I like that, which is why I believe so many things that are were somewhat foundational to the previous age are getting overturned just because more information's available. Um, like a lot of the religious structures are falling apart right now, as they should, because a lot of them aren't built on information. They're built on fear mongering, they're built on deceit, they're built on control. So when you start actually looking for the information, a lot of stuff falls apart as it should.
I'm I'm not necessarily against religion
Hmm.
or Christianity or anything. I still read my Bible.
Hmm.
I still see the value within the teachings. Um, I'm not so high and mighty that I'm going to throw Christianity away because it hurt me when I was a kid or some people did something to me. I'm the master student. I read my Bible.
Yeah. Yeah. Learning from that, even still, like, even though I left the system, I still pull from that area a bit too, because information is information. So whenever I'm referencing Christianity, I'm talking more so about a system rather than a collection of knowledge. It's the structure, the organization that I'm attacking more so than anything. Just in case people that watch my channel ever got confused. But moving to moving into a slightly well, this is a completely different topic. This has grown in relevancy a lot more recently, based on some things that happened in the news, things that have been reported by the Navy, as well as teachers like Billy Carson. What's your stance on aliens? Do you believe aliens are real? If so, do you believe we're aliens or that we've been influenced by aliens? Where do you stand in that topic?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think we haven't changed the topic at all, brother. We haven't changed the topic at all. The same place God comes from,
Mhm.
same place aliens come from. Up there. If you want to call it aliens, then you call that space. If you want to call it God, then you call it heaven. And this is where reading comes in. We're just playing word semantics. Tomato, no tomato.
Yeah,
Okay, tomato, fine, whatever. So yeah, when you're dealing with aliens, what's the root word of alien, brother?
something that ain't from here.
No, root word of
Oh,
the
root word? I don't know.
Ali.
Okay.
Ali is a religious term, brother.
Okay.
And then you're dealing with in. Go back and read your Bible.
Mhm.
Christians gave you last names prior to Christianity. The last name was tacked on to the end of your name.
Yeah. It was
Old
just
Hebrew. I'm sorry.
yeah, it was like just the title or related to like what the job was or things like that that got added on. Yeah.
Well, okay, I'll say this: Gabriel,
Mhm.
Raphael, Ishmael, Israel, Jezebel. What do they all have in common?
L.
These are the children of El.
Mhm.
Um, Saddlefron, Metatron, Lion, Babylon. Um, what do these all have in common? Oh, Demon. What do these all have in common? Solomon. What do these all have in common?
On.
These are the children of An. Alien. These are the children of In. In who? Enlil. Inky. These are the children of In. Ali. In. If you learn the language, they can't confuse you. Aliens are just the semantics. Tomato, tomato.
Yeah.
We just there's another religious talk. So yeah, when we talk about aliens, we are the aliens. This is according to the Bible. God didn't say he created man in the Garden of Eden. God created man in a spaceship up above. Anu created the Adamites in a spaceship up above. Anu put the creations between the Tigris and Euphrates. This is in the Bible.
Mhm.
Go back and read Genesis.
Yeah.
God put man in the Garden of Eden. You're an alien, according to the text.
Yeah. I like that. So, let's see. If we're dealing with biblical narrative still, like the word God throughout the Old Testament is Elohim. That's plural. So you believe that correlates to really just the family of like the Anunnaki. You got your Enki, your Enlil, your Anu, Ki, so on and so forth, and we're all relatives of any one member of that family for the most part. I can see that. I can see that. I've in my own recent studies, I've kind of come to a similar conclusion, had a few encounters related to that more recently, but I'll save that for another day. But um that was one of the things that helped me piece together a lot when studying a bunch of different cultures is the creation story and the flood myth of a story, because most cultures have one of them. They have a creation story, they have a flood story. If you're able to figure out who's who, you're able to figure out who in that story is who, so that you know what to expect from that individual, the nature of that individual. Um, like it came to see that Enki was kind of everywhere humanity was that needed to be saved. Humanity's in danger, here comes Enki to the rescue. If humanity's in danger, it was most likely Enlil. So, reading through different cultures, it's like you're not going to read a Hindu text that tells you, and then, oh, but since he's over here, his name goes by this instead. So, bear with me. They're not going to say it that way. They're going to give you a story. It's up to us to figure out who's who. And I was able to do that. Like, for example, flood story. Uh, Enuma Elish, the flood epic of the Sumerians. You have Enki, who empowers Zasudra or Utnapishtim to build the ark. Well, then you get to the biblical narrative. You have God, whoever that is, instructing Noah to build the ark. You get to the Hindu text, you have Matsya instructing the king to build the ark. You're like, okay, same story, same person. That's all Enki. You get to, you go way back. It's like, okay, who got mad and sent it? Okay, Enlil got mad and sent the flood. Okay, no problem. Go to the biblical narrative, God. Okay, again, that word God is Elohim. It's plural. It's more than one person. That's just a bad English translation. Making stuff singular that should be plural. Then we get to the Hindu text again. It's like, well, who's the destroyer? Ah, there go Yeshiva. Okay, this is making sense. The one that brings the end of an age, the one that destroys everything. Gotcha. This is making some sense here. So I do agree with you that a lot of stuff ends up just being semantics on which term people find a bit more comfortable. But for the most part, they trying to tell the same story, unless they're specializing in their puzzle piece.
And there's nothing wrong with that, brother. When you tell the story, these are griots. When you tell the story, I expect you to tell it in your words.
Yeah.
If you get on the stand in a court of law and testify, by law, you have to put it in your own words. You can't go up there and repeat somebody else. You can't do no hearsay. You can't do no gossip. You got to tell your story. You have to. So when they tell it in their own words based off their own language, I don't see anything wrong with that. That's what you're
Yeah.
supposed. And I think us in our community, we've been highly criticized because we haven't told the story within our own words. We've told the story from a Greco-Roman position, and we as a people have been criticized for that. And I understand, when you're in your infancy, the only thing you can do is follow within your parents. And I know for some of us, that's going to bite a little bit because we don't want to look at them like that. I don't like to look at it like that, but I'm forced to in a pragmatic way to understand how we got to this point. They put us in a child state of mind. We are now in our infancy, and we're finally learning to walk and think for ourselves. So at this point, now that we're finally learning to walk and think for ourselves, it's our responsibility to tell the story from our mouth versus parakeeting.
I like that. This kind of goes back into, well, same topic really, but when it comes to, like we were talking about with elevating the community, when you're looking at, let's just say, white people, the most credible person to a white person is another white person. The most credible person to talk about the white experience and white history is white people. You go to Asia, break that down, you go to China, the most credible person you looking for is someone Chinese, or at least from descent from Chinese. Japan, you looking for Japanese. India, you looking from somebody that's Indian or Hindu. It's only with Africans, African Americans, or even natives that for us, the most credible people to us are other groups that we don't trust ourselves to tell our own story. And because we don't value each other's voice like that, other cultures get to write our story for us. Our story is dictated by what white scholars say in our community rather than what we believe, what we've experienced, what we know to be true in our own community. It's a lack of value for ourselves, a lack of value for each other. um, you had something to add to that before I change the topic?
Sad but true.
Yeah. um, so going back into the topic of the aliens, do you believe that, let's just say, those same key figures are still active and in operation today?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Um, I saw a video recently, and I'm just curious your thoughts, where they were proposing that, you familiar with the figure Thoth or Hermes Trismegistus, that guy? They are proposing that Dr. York is Thoth. Do you agree with that? Could you kind of see that? He's like, nah. What's your kind of stance in that area?
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Um, let's go into the words. Knowing and believing. Knowing is when you know something. There's no room for believing. Believing is when you don't know something. So you just got to kind of guess. Obviously, just to be fair, rational, and reasonable, I don't know. And I'm not going to
Hmm.
try to pretend I do because, hey, I like York. Let me just say it. And, yeah, I do like York. I do like his teachings. Would I like to believe that? Sure. Do I have any proof of that? No. But based off his contributions, I would say between him and Shahara Ali, they started our generation on reading and they propelled the newest generation. Like I remember one of the phenoms was young Pharaoh at a point in time, and one of his dirtiest secrets was that he was parakeeting Dr. York, but a lot of people weren't ready for that conversation, so we just kind of said it was young Pharaoh, and a lot of people will tell you they love young Pharaoh and hate York, or whatever the case may be, not knowing that your most favorite YouTuber or whoever the case may be, a lot of these people, including myself, some of my best videos were just parakeeting Dr. York. Um, and even though he only wrote one book, everything else were pamphlets, which is genius because Negroes ain't reading no books. You gonna have to give me. Remember Snickers came. I remember back in the day we had Snickers. Then Snickers had the king size, like and then from king size came bite size, and I'm like bite size. I don't. I want the kings, but York brought it to you bite sized. But respectfully, even York was copying. Respectfully, York copied the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Before York came out with them bite-sized books, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was coming out with those bite-sized, and they're not even books; they're pamphlets. And when you think about pamphlets, you're probably going to think about Jehovah Witness passing out tracts, just these little 2, 3 page whatever's. Boom, boom, boom. Here, take this bite size. So yeah, York did it for us in our generation, but the previous generation was, I'm sorry, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had got it from Noble Jew Ali. Um, so, and remember, the pen is mightier than the sword. It was, it was this one dude in Chicago, Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey had a social media platform. Remember, Marcus Garvey was the very first Mark Zuckerberg.
Hmm.
Marcus Garvey had a social media platform called a newspaper. This is how you circulated information back in the day. This is how ideas went viral. Marcus Garvey has a newspaper. This is the first social media platform. Stories are going viral. Marcus Garvey shoots up. I think the mob had hired this dude in Chicago. After Marcus Garvey did it, he did it. The newspaper went so viral, it caused the Great Migration to Harlem and Chicago. You don't get a Great Migration to the Harlem or Chicago without them newspapers going viral. This was your first social media platform. So by the time Malachi Z. York does it, the Harlem Renaissance and the Great Migration to Chicago were both based off what Malachi Z. York did. So obviously he didn't do it first, but he did follow along with that. So would I like to say he is the one? Sure, because he's in my generation, but that's no different than me giving respect to Michael Jordan over Kobe. Because Michael Jordan was a part of my generation, bro. I just it's something about Tupac that make me vibrate higher than Lil Wayne because Lil Wayne came after and he was a little bit further removed from my generation. And so yeah, Malachi Z. York, I give you high honors and perfect praise, but the pen has always been mightier than a sword, and whoever held that pen was the king of their day.
I like that. Even when you mention Elijah Muhammad, One of the things that I feel gets lost in as far as what people knew about him, he was a lot more controversial than he's given credit for today. In fact, he gave a lot more truth than what people would give him credit for today, even in the Nation of Islam today. Um, for one, he was one of the few people at that time to even be talking about aliens, and this was during the time when the government was trying to kill him. So if they were ever looking for a reason to make him look crazy, to take away some of his credibility, they never lunged at the opportunity to attack him when he said that, yeah, I was taken up on a UFO and it was full of black people.
One of the hard pills for me to swallow, no pun intended. The first Dr. Sebi was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, How to Eat to Live. By the time Dr. Sebi came, like Honorable Elijah had done it a long time before he did it. You know, the whole vegan thing. Oh, vegan. Yeah. I'm sorry, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad Ben said, you know, only supposed to be eating once, twice a day. You're not supposed to be eating this type of meat, that type of meat, drink more water, blah, blah, blah. So then by the time Dr. Sebi came along, it was like, it was trending, but it wasn't new.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
and no one other than outside of the Nation of Islam, no one ever said that. Just like um, Elijah Muhammad passed the baton to Malachi Yor, very little people I heard say Elijah Muhammad passed the baton to Dr. Sebi, even though Dr. Sebi will tell you he came out of the Nation of Islam.
I like that. So continue in that line of thought where you have almost like a mantle being passed on, the pen being passed as you said it. I like that. Who would you say are some of the candidates working right now in this generation, let's say 2020s, that you see as possible candidates to hold that pen?
I don't really keep up. No disrespect to nobody. It's a
You
lot
get
of
it?
a lot of dudes out here doing great work. I'm just so consumed in my own work that I don't really have time to watch other people or to see who's doing what. I came in the game watching other people and seeing who was doing what, and it was a very negative and traumatizing experience for me. And I just stopped. I don't watch people anymore. I don't see what anybody else is doing. I'm not keeping up with the Joneses. I'm just trying to do my part. Um, and that's no disrespect to nobody. There are some great brothers and sisters out here doing great work. Though, if a tree falls in a forest and no one's there to hear it, did it really? Yes, it did fall.
Yeah.
Calm your ego down. It did fall. So, just because I don't know who these people are, don't mean they're not there and they're doing great. They're out there. They're doing great work. And shout out to them, the ones who are getting their flowers, and the unsung heroes as well.
I like that. Let's see. So one of the figures you mentioned just a moment ago was Shahara Ali. I'm not as familiar with her. Could you talk about her a bit for like I've seen her pop up a bit, but she's not somebody I really studied all too much. Could you kind of devolve share a little bit on her?
Yeah, that's another one who got but and here, let me say this: I'm not Nation of Islam. I'm
Yeah.
not.
You a master student, a
I'm
little
a
bit of
master.
everything.
Right, the gumbo, the smorgasbord.
Yeah.
But yeah, with that said, another one to come out of the Nation of Islam, Shahrazad Ali is going to give you she birthed the reading renaissance. So she gained her fame and notoriety with one book called The Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. And it was just controversial because we as a community are in the age of feminism, to where most of our men and our women are feminists, which started out during the time of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. This is the 1920s. The Marcus Garvey. Who else? Who else? Noble Jew Ali. This is all the. Remember, brother, have you heard the term the Roaring Twenties?
Hmm.
This is the Roaring 20s. I don't want anybody under the sound of my voice. Oh, the 20s, okay. No. The roaring. They called it the roaring 20s for a reason.
They were getting active.
They it was right. It was very active in the 20s. So the 20s is what brought you feminism at the time called women's suffrage. So now, that's the root. Right now, in this age, we're seeing the fruit. And that was a whites only, women only movement. So, at its root, it's a racist thing for white women exclusively. We don't, it's women's suffrage, meaning white women's suffrage. We don't care about you guys, but that's neither here nor there. So now we are in a time of feminism, to where this is the offspring of the roaring 20s, and we are all sassy white women at our core, because that's the root of feminism. Sassy white women. You're a feminist, you're a guy, girl, black, white, whatever. You're a sassy white woman. That's the energy you're channeling. You can't, you love the fruit, you hate the root. I don't make the rules. So now she challenged feminism. And this is what launched, or birthed rather, no pun intended, well, pun intended, because she's a woman. This is what birthed the reading renaissance in the black community. She started, prior to Shahara Ali, you only have a handful of authors. Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston, just a couple of people who were actually picking up the pen to find that, verily I say unto thee, church, it is mightier than the sword. So now, after Shahrazad Ali, after she comes out with this book, black bookstores popping up, black authors popping up. And I'm not talking about, because prior to her, it was Hobby Lobby. Oh, I write books. Okay, well, that's a cute little side thing that you do when you're bored. After Shahrazad Ali, be like, I'm an author. I'm a book writer. And our people prior to her, it was a very small niche community. And she just came in and, pun intended, because we're talking about relationships, she bust them cheeks open. So she birthed the reading renaissance within our community. Black authors, so-called black bookstores, um, black authors being taken seriously as a profession. Shout out to Shahrazad Ali, The Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman, which is a very small, short book, but very powerful, amongst a plethora of other literature that she has created.
That's great. So, earlier we mentioned Bobby Hemmett. One of the things that he liked to do when he was teaching is that he would help people realize what was relevant and what was fact, what was going on in the spirit world, by what was in the movies, by what was in the TV shows, by what was in the fiction at that time, kind of keeping people on course. Um, do you also believe that fiction plays a role in helping, let's just say, reveal the truth to us?
Yes, short answer, yes. I have a really hard time grappling with the word fiction. Some of it seems like a government program to throw you off. There is, well, not that but there's something people speak of. There's this covert agreement between humanoids, or whatever you want to call us, and our overlords, whatever you want to call them, that we must tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You have to tell the truth. Now, how you remember, we are griot. Don't pronounce the T, griot. We are griot. We're storytellers. So we have to tell the truth. But the overlords never told us how to do that. They just said you had to do it. So now, if you tell the truth and you embellish a little bit, ain't nobody tripping. We're not going to tell you how to clean your room. Just make sure it's clean. So now, the conspiracy theory is that the overlords do approve of Hollywood. They approve of our leaders telling us the truth in a way that is framed in sci-fi fiction. entertainment. And Bobby Hemmett called it out. It's not science fiction, it's science fact. There is no such thing as entertainment. If you look at the story of the ancestors, Horus, Horus is a cartoon character. His father, his mother, his uncle, these are all cartoon characters.
Mhm.
These are just stories to help you understand something. It's called allegory. Oh, that's not real, it's fake. So,
Yeah.
Three
Modern
Little
day
Pig,
mythology.
the nobody's saying that Three Little Pigs is real. But I'm
Mm.
not telling you the story to make you believe there are really three little pigs. I'm trying to get you to understand a higher concept through the media. If I use a cartoon character to teach you one plus one, does that mean one plus one is not real? Or that mean that the medium was entertaining and cute?
Yeah.
So Bobby Hemmett just called those things out. When you're watching these shows with the mindset of being entertained, you're not doing yourself justice. If you look at these things to help you, uh, I mean, forgive me, I don't want to be rude. To answer a question with a question is rude.
You good.
How do you eat an elephant, brother?
You got to break it down.
One bite at a time. If this movie is a way to eat the elephant, eat the elephant. Remember in church, they told you, you can't eat meat. You a babe in Christ. These ideas are too complex for your goofy tail. Bro, you know how I learned how I got so good with the Bible? I was at work one day in my ego. And there was this
Mhm.
one girl named Latoya. I'm not gonna say her last name, but named Latoya. You know she a black girl. And Latoya is the dumbest person at the job. Nobody goes to Latoya and asks her questions. Latoya is not a shining star to where she's just this intelligent person. And she know who she is. She don't even try to be nothing she not. I love Latoya. So one day I'm talking and Latoya chime in and she says something intelligent. Not only is it intelligent, I'm floored that she knows this. And I said, Latoya, that's a complex thought. How the hell did you wrap your brain around it? It was something in the Bible. She said, "Oh, all I did, I went to YouTube and I watched Bible cartoons, and that's the way I ate the elephant." Bro, I started watching those Bible cartoons.
Some of them are fantastic.
Bible cartoons will get you right. You'll know the story, and then you go back and read your Bible, completely different. You be like, "Oh crap."
I missed that. And it's right there.
That's how you eat the elephant, and that's what Bobby Hemmett was doing.
Yeah. I like that. Because, yeah, Bible cartoons, I felt the same thing. I think it's called like Superbook on YouTube. They did a great job with that.
Shout out to Super, see, brother. See, I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed. Shout out to you and shout out to Superbook. So anybody found on my voice, y'all better tap in.
Yeah. Like, I wish there was more mediums. I wish we had more cartoons, more modern day mythology to make this stuff easily available. It's like, as much as I love comedicism hard to it's hard to eat. The teachers use a lot of jargon. It's hard to really get into it. I'm like, if they just started releasing movies, TV shows, webtoons, people would get into it.
If the book don't got no pictures, I get offended.
I like that. But yeah, I that's one of the projects that I'm somewhat working on is getting some of this into a digestible medium, understanding it enough to make it easy. So I got one last question for you before we wrap up. Um, as you said, you've gone through quite a journey, transitioning from here to there to everywhere, learning. What does spirituality look like for you practically these days? What does your regular engagement look like with the divine?
Satan worship.
You like, yeah, I set my candles out, I draw my little star, make sure I throw my hood on.
I'm I'm getting into Satanism. I'm getting into Satan worship. Um, and I don't drink the Kool-Aid. Lord knows I do not drink the Kool-Aid. And so with that said, I don't want anybody to think I'm a bad person and I want to do bad things. I'm the master student. So I'm just studying. That's all. And the studies have led me to Satan. And yeah, it's weird, it's uncomfortable, but it's spirituality. So now, how is probably your question. Well, go back to science. Science tells you light is physical. Light is physical. That's a problem. That's a big problem.
Hmm.
Because if light is physical, then light is a part of the physical realm. And the physical realm is not the spiritual realm. You
Hmm.
don't get into spirituality until you remove the light. Spirituality is in the darkness. So spirit, if you want to get into spirituality, you got to get into the darkness. That's the only place the spirituality is at. Oh, I was about to die, and I went towards you about to die. You going towards the light? Nah, I don't. Nah, I know. I tell you this. I was raised. This is what I was told. Listen, sleep is the cousin of death. I've been asleep, brother. You know where it's most comfortable to sleep at?
In the dark.
I've been going to the dark side. I've been getting into spirituality. Yeah, there are creepy crawlies in the dark, and things do appear to be different in the dark, and things are weird in the dark. Um, but my appreciation for the dark is growing. My fear of the dark is waning. I'm not afraid of the dark anymore. That's where my spirituality is at.
That's interesting. I like that. Um, this a whole can of worms, but most people already worship Satan and don't know it. Which is why I didn't. For those who, that's why I didn't flinch when he said that. It's a branding more than it is a different system. If only people knew. Um, but that really is all I have for you today. Do you have any final words you'd like to leave with the audience? Closing remarks, I guess.
I am your humble brother Crumb, the master student. You can find me on CrumbTV everywhere. Well, not everywhere. On YouTube, I'm on CrumbTV. Facebook, my business page is CrumbTV. My personal page is Master with an A, student with two T's. Apparently, Facebook doesn't believe a person like me name could be Master. Um, I am on Instagram and TikTok. I don't even know what my handles are over there, but you'll find links somewhere. Um, you could check me out. I'm I am a jerk. I am an a hole. I am a rough around the edges. I'm not a nice person. So try not to be too personal with me. Just look at the information. And I think you'll get the best from me. And my apologies, family. And I don't want to be that way, but I'm not going to sit here and lie to anybody. And you try to approach me, and you get this negative experience. I'm human, just like you are. I'd be having, brother. Let me say this. These are my closing thoughts. Ignorance is bliss. I was a much happier person when I didn't know any of this. These things are disturbing. I went through. I go through the stages of grief a lot. denial, negotiating, anger. I was a much happier person when I didn't know none of this. Knowing these things has not been fulfilling and rewarding emotionally. These things are stressful. These things depress me. So when I say these things, family, don't please don't take me the wrong way. Um, but I don't want me being ignorant and in my emotions at the time to get it to interfere with your journey, like the church did with me, or like with other people did with me. Just watch the information. And I told my son this, a couple more things. I told my son this: if you believe everything I say, you a goddamn fool. Don't get up here and just copy me. Don't get up here and parakeet me. Research me. Research the stuff that I'm saying. If Crumb says dogs aren't real, Google, why do people say dogs aren't real? Um, so yeah, try not to get too personal, because I'm just a regular person like you. I'm broken, I'm flawed, I'm hurt. Um, but I am knowledgeable and I can help you. Um, but just research what I'm saying. Don't make it about me. I ain't ish. Trust me. I don't care how many followers, subscribers, money. Bro, I ain't ish. Malachi York ain't. None of us are. We just regular people. But the information, I tell you what, that information is definitely whatever it is. So with that said, family, I'm humbled, I'm honored, I'm grateful. Thank you so much for having me, brother. I give you high honors and perfect praise.
That's awesome. Again, thank you for joining me today. And that concludes this episode of The Inner. Until next time, y'all be blessed.